is Nicola. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. If you're returning, thank you once again for joining me in another video. So in today's video, I'll be talking about counterfeit. So what is counterfeit? So counterfeit is like a copy of the original thing. It's fake. It's not real. So it's not as good as the real thing. So this is a testimony that I'll be sharing with you guys. And before I start this testimony, I just want to quote on Psalms 27 verses 14. When the Lord said, "Wait upon the Lord, and he shall renew thy strength." Wait upon the Lord. I say, wait. So if you don't take anything away from this testimony, I'm telling you to wait upon the Lord. Just wait. Okay, so let's go back. So this was last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it was sometime last year. And this was around, I think it was around November, December. And when I decided that I was going to get serious and surrender my whole life to God, I was learning. I was still new to the whole, living for Christ life. And I remember, and I told you guys, like in a video I posted a while back, too long ago, about like having heart desires, like things that my heart desired. So I had a desire to like get married, obviously, And I remember I started going to the church, and I was, having a good time. I was like, okay, getting to know God, and that desire to have a husband keep coming out. So I was like praying for my husband, like, I don't know, the desire to just pray for my husband. It's like I started praying for my husband. I was praying for my husband, and I was getting a bit lonely, to be honest. And I find myself, I was like, okay, I'm gonna download a dating app. Because if you know anything about this world, like, people meet on dating site, like, people don't really meet people in person as much anymore, so everything's on social online. So a lot of people are meeting online. So I was like, maybe God wants me to go on a dating site to meet somebody. So I took my black ass and I went on a dating site. I downloaded the app, uploaded some photos. When you're swiping left, you're swiping right if you see someone you like. And I was on this dating app, and my friend Janelle, she was telling me, she's like, I don't think you should go on a dating app. And in this time, I'm like, how do you know I'm not supposed to go on a dating app? Like, what if God wants me to go on a dating app? Like, what if my husband is on a dating app? And I'm like, I feel led to go on this dating app, so maybe God is telling me to go on this dating app. Anyways, I went on the dating app, and I met someone. And this guy, oh my gosh, this guy fit perfect. My whole list. I don't know if you have a list, but I have a list. Like, I know a lot of women, they have a list of the things that they look for in a man, the things that they want in a man, how the man should look, what the man should do, like, the things that he, like all these requirements. And I had a list, and this man was checking it off and off. Everything on the list was being checked off. And I remember we started texting, because like on his page, because as I told you, I was still a new believer, so I was looking for someone who's a believer just like myself. So on his profile, he had a man of God, put God first in everything. And I saw this and I was like, woo, a man of God, yes, one thing checked off the list already, And then he's nice, tall, black, and handsome. And I'm like, woo, another thing checked off the list, And then we started conversing, and he's telling me that, oh, he has a good job in the government job. And I'm like, woo, checked off. Like, he's tall and handsome, like, he has a good job, he's a man of God. And I'm like, and then we keep conversing, right? And he's telling me that, oh, my goal is to get married and have a family. And it's like, I'm done with this world. I'm done with all these things. And it's like, woman, like, I'm just looking for the right woman. And I'm like, God, why are you so good to me? Like, all this man is just checking off all the lists, literally everything on the list. And I'm like, yo, this is it. This man is hit. Like, I'm like, this must be my husband. For my mind you guys, I was naive, and I wanted it so bad. Like I was just like, okay, this man is checking all my list, all the boxes in my list. It has to be him. And I was still new to Christ, and I'm like, okay, God, this must be you. You know, I didn't really went to God and asked God. I'm like, I didn't ask God, like, God, is this man from you? I just assumed it was from God, you know? And I remember we were dating, and this man, we started dating a little bit. And I remember during the time, like, unfortunately, when we were planning to meet up for the first time, because we were conversing over the phone. We exchanged numbers at this time. We were talking, and we talked on the phone. I remember we were supposed to meet up, and the time we were supposed to meet up, the day off, he texted me and he's like, "Oh, I'm in the hospital," and I was like, "In the hospital? Like what?" And then I have like had trust issues back then, you know, and it came up, and I was like, he's in the hospital. And I was saying to my friend, this man is trying to get out of a date. He's saying he's in the hospital. That was my first thought. And then my friend was like, what if he's not lying? Like, why would someone lie about that? And then he sent me a photo of like an IV in his hand. So I was like, oh shoot, he's actually in the hospital. And so I felt bad. And then from that moment, I was like, okay, this man has no reason to lie to me. Like, I'm not gonna think that he's a liar. Anything he says, I'm gonna take his word for it, because like, why would someone lie? You know, like, why would he lie? That's what I was thinking. But he was in the hospital. Unfortunately, he had surgery and we couldn't get to see each other. So fast forward, I think it was like 2 weeks after, like, I went and I visited him. Actually, it wasn't 2 weeks. It was a couple days after his surgery. I went and I visited him in the hospital. So this guy lived like an hour away from me, like an hour drive. So I drove there and I went to the hospital and I saw him in the hospital, and we had a good time. Like, it was really nice. Even though he was in the hospital, he was such a gentleman. Like, he literally ordered me food, and he, you know, like, he paid for it, and the Uber took it. So we ordered food from Uber Eats. He was like, whatever you need. And I got the food. I sat in the hospital room, and we ate and I talked and we laughed, and it was like a first date, you know, a first date. It wasn't the date that I imagined, but I enjoyed it, you know, it was nice. And then he got out of the hospital, and the problem that he had, unfortunately, they didn't got the right thing when they did the surgery, so he had to go back in the hospital for a second surgery. At this point, this man was like so drained. Like, he was like, you know, he was sad, because it was a sad situation. Anyways, I don't want to talk about his old situation, but it was sad. Anyways, he went back to the hospital. I went and I visited him again, and at this time, it was like a romantic story, bro. I crawl up in the hospital bed with this man. If you ever know a hospital bed, I work in a hospital because I'm a nurse, and like, yeah, for me to touch the hospital bed, like, and then touch myself, it's just like, I don't do that, because I know a lot of germs go around in a hospital. But I was laying in the bed, like, not like nothing like that. We were just like literally laying side by side in the bed watching like the TV, and everyone came in. They were like, oh my god, you guys are such a good couple. And we're like, we don't know each other for that long, but yeah, okay, thanks. But it was nice, you know. And we sat there and we talked. I just felt comfortable, because he's from he has a Jamaican background as well as me. So like, even though he lived here for a long time, he has a Jamaican background. So I felt so comfortable. I could speak my patois. I was like, wow, you're good, everything all right, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then he would understand everything I say, you know, and we just kind of get each other, because we kind of had that same background. So everything kind of clicked, and we wanted the same thing, because he was telling me, you want to get married, you want to get this, you want to get that. And like, I was like, yeah, this man is like it. And I remember one time he came to, after he got out of the hospital and he was still healing, he took the bus and he came to visit me. And I was like, why is he taking the bus? But at the same time, I was like, okay, he just had surgery, so he just shouldn't be driving. But then he got me flowers. So I was like, oh, he got me flowers and he took the bus. He brought the flowers on the bus. But anyways, it was so nice. And then I you know, we had a good time. We just laughed, we talked. We never did anything sexual, anything, because this man was like, yo, I want a wife, I'm looking for a wife. And I'm like, I'm looking for a husband. We weren't thinking about those sexual things. Like the most we did was like kiss, and it wasn't a deep kiss. It was like a, like the little mouth kiss, but not like nothing crazy. And during the time we were together, like we were dating, I find that my mind was lingering away from God. I was thinking outside, like I was like, well, if things happen, they just happen. Like I'm not going intentionally to have, sexual intercourse, but I'm like, oh, if it happens, it happens. That's the mentality I had, because I was still fresh. I was still new to the whole Christian, being, surrendering my life to God. So in the back of my head, I was like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to do this until marriage, but I'm like, if it happens, that's how I was thinking, guys. And I was falling further away from God. Instead of like building up my faith and getting closer to God, I was falling away from God. And I'm going to tell you guys something. If you're ever in a relationship with a friend, with a partner, or anybody, and you're falling away from God, instead of that person elevating you and pushing you towards God, just know that relationship is not from God. I didn't know that at the time. Like, I didn't want to hear that, I wanted the marriage so much, I didn't want to hear that. And I remember we went on another date one time, and this man took me ring shopping. We went into a ring shop on one of the dates, and I was trying on engagement rings. I was trying on wedding rings. I felt good. I was like, oh, this is gonna happen soon. Like the ring. I'm like, yes. Oh my gosh. Like it was good. Like, yo, this man was giving me everything that I think that I wanted at the time. And I remember feeling so good. I was telling my friends about him. I'm like, yes, I think this man is the one, like, da, 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 da. But during the midst of it all, God was doing something. Because a lot of times when we were supposed to go on dates, like we would plan a date, and then something would happen on the day off or the day before or a couple days before, and then the date will have to get canceled. So we didn't get, even though we saw each other a couple times, it wasn't as much as I would want it to. And every time I asked him to like, oh, come to church with me, he would make some kind of excuse. Oh, I'm sick. Or he'd be like, oh, my friend invited me to church already and I'm going to his church, or things like that. And then he would make a lot of empty promises like, we should start Bible study together. And that Bible study never got started. We never did that Bible study. It was always like, oh, because like he was Christian, but he was not walking with God. Because he always said, oh, gonna start my walk with God. I want to get back into the church. I want to start my walk. But he never really started his walk. So he's from a Christian background, but like he's not walking with God. But he would always make these big promises about, oh, I'm gonna walk with God. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And if I know anything about my God, God does not put unequally yoked people together. Yes, he's from a Christian background. Yes, you may have intentions to actually follow God, but he was not walking with God. And I was walking with God. So for God to put us together at that time, nah. Even if God was supposed to make us, I still believe that I met him for a reason, because during his time when he was going through a lot, I felt like I was an encouragement in that time, because I was a nurse, so I get a lot of the things that he was going through. So yeah, and I felt like that was one of the reasons why he probably, stayed with me. I don't know, but it's because he was getting all the benefits from me, like being able to like teach him things and being there for him, because I'm a genuinely nice person, and I was there for him emotionally and physically, So I think, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I still don't regret meeting him, because I feel like I met him during the time that I met him for a reason, Anyways, So after the ring shopping and everything, I was head over heels, y'all. I was telling my friends and everybody, not everybody, but like my friends and close friends, and I was like, yo, I think, like if this man asked me to marry him, I think I'm gonna say yes. Like, I just have a good feeling about, I think he's the one. Until I went to church one Sunday, and the pastor that preached, he talked about people that are in our lives but not supposed to be in our lives. And I took on that message, and for some reason, I just had the urge to pray and fast about it. So I prayed a prayer to God. I was like, God, please remove everyone that is not supposed to be in my life from my life. And I fast about it. And y'all, I went to bed a couple days after the fast. I think I did a 1-day fast. I went a couple days after the fast, and I was praying about it. I went to bed and I had a dream. And the dream goes like, I had a dream that I was out with this guy. Like, we were out on a date, and my nephew and my niece, they were with me as well. And we went to this restaurant, and this nice fancy restaurant, and the bill came up to like $500. And he was like, can you pay this and I'll give you the money back? He's like, oh, I'll give you the money back, like, because I don't have my card with me. I'll pay it, and I'll give you back. Like, he just said, like, just pay this, pick it up, and I'll give you back, give you the money back. And I was like, okay, no problem. And I paid the money, because in my head I was like, he's gonna give it back, because like, he has a nice job, he has a nice car according to him, like, he's doing well for himself, so I don't see why he would try to take my money. And fast after that, the next morning, I'm talking about the dream here, guys, so follow me. So in the dream, so it's like all of a sudden, it's like I woke up and we were at his house, and at his house, it was this nice big house, and I'm there and I'm thinking to myself, and it's like me, him, and my niece and my nephew were all in the house, and I'm thinking to him, I'm like, wow, this is a big house. I'm like, how did you? And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, how did this man afford this nice house? Like, I'm like, yeah, he has a good job, but like, wow. And in my head, I'm like, what is he doing to get all these houses? And I remember in the house, there was like 3 big white doors. I can't forget that. 3 big white doors that led up outside. And during that time, he came out of the room, because it's almost as if he was working from home. So he was in the room, and myself and my niece and my nephew, we were all sitting like in the living room area. And he came out there, and he was like, oh, my rent is due. Can you pay it, and I'll give it back, and I'll give back the money. But when he say these things, it's not like he's like sad about it. He's like, still jittery and happy. He's like, oh, yo, just give me this and I'll give it back. Like when someone is actually gonna pay you back, and they're like, yo, just do this for me and I'll give it back. That's how he came across. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, so I said to him, why don't you pay it off your thing? And he's like, oh, my credit card is not working. My bank doesn't want to. So I'm like, why don't you go pull the money from the bank and then give it to your landlord? And he's like, he got upset, because he's like, yo, why don't, like, are you going to pay the money or not? And I'm like, no. And then I joked around, and I'm like, are you trying to scam me or something? And guys, this man got so upset in the dream. I'm still talking about the dream here. And this man got so upset in my dream, and he was like, yo, you gotta get out of here. Just because I said, like, are you trying to scam me? And I was like, I'm not paying the money. And he was like, yo, you gotta get out of this house. I better not come back out of this room and you're in the house. So I just remember like giving my nieces and my nephew, and I'm like, you guys go outside, because, and then all of a sudden I saw these ladies, and they're like, you gotta go, because when he's mad, he's mad. So I'm just there like, I'm trying to get my niece and my nephew out of the house first, because I'm like, okay, I need to get them out of the house, get them out of the way first, and then I can leave. So as I was leaving, this man came out with a machete, and he's like, yo. So I remember like grabbing 3 rocks, and I was like throwing the rocks at him, because I'm like, I'm not scared of your machete. And I was throwing the rocks at him, and then I woke up. When I woke up, I was like, what kind of dream is that? I was really puzzled, and I was like, what kind of dream is that? A couple days later, my friend had another dream that he came to visit me, and he literally drove his car and came inside, and it was like, give me his car key. He gave me his car key and said, go wash my car. And my friend said she was thinking like, why is he doing that? this was my friend's dream. Anyways, all of that. So I was still wondering, I'm like, God, what is this? Like, I'm still there. And guys, when I tell you, all of a sudden, everything started unpacking. It's like a scale was removed from my eyes and my ears. I could just see through this man. Like, he told me he had a car, and then I started to think, I've never seen this car. And every time we would have a conversation about him to come and see me, where it would be his turn to come and drive to see me, some miraculous thing would happen. And I remember one day, it was because at this time it was like winter, and we were on the phone, and he's telling me that he's outside. And I'm like, you're outside? Like, he's like, yeah, like, he's like taking the bus. I'm like, you're taking the bus in like a winter storm? Like, why don't you drive? And he's like, oh, I don't like to drive in the winter. And I'm like, okay, you don't have winter tire on? And he's like, no, I don't have winter tires. I have all season. I don't like to drive in the winter. So I'm like, you rather take the bus in a winter storm than drive? That doesn't make any sense to me. And he's like, yeah, I rather take the bus. So I was just thinking about that. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, I have a car, and I would have never go out and take the bus in a winter storm. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, to wait on the bus, the time you would wait on the bus, like, if you drive, you could literally go and come back to wherever you're going. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I invited him to church again, and he may come up with the same excuse, talking about, oh, he's sick, or this man was sick. Like, I remember even the first time when we met, this man told me that he got sick like once a year. And during our time we were like dating, he got sick so many times. I was like, how can one person be sick this many times? And I remember we had a date one time. We were supposed to have a date, and he was supposed to come down to my area. And the Wednesday, he's like, oh, I have a sore throat. And then the Thursday, he's like, started coughing on the phone. We're talking on the phone, and he's like, and then the Friday, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. Saturday, they canceled. And then the next time we planned it, he did the same thing. Like, the first time he did that, I didn't notice anything. As I said, guys, everything that this man tells me, I would say, why would he lie? There's no reason for him to lie, and I believe him. Like, it could be the stupidest thing, and I would just believe it, because I'm like, why would he lie? There's no reason for him to lie. And I remember it happened again, and then I started seeing all these things. Like, I'm telling you guys, after I had that prayer and fasting, that's when God started revealing everything to me. Every single thing to me. And then I started seeing things, like seeing him for who he is, and things that he would say just doesn't make any sense, and I started put one and two together. And then I started asking him about his job. So I was like, oh, so you work in so and so, how long was your program? And he's like, when someone asks you a question and you don't even know the answer, because I was like, how long was your program? He's like, couple of years. I'm like, couple of years, like what, 2 years? He's like, yeah, 2 years. I'm like, okay. I look online. The program that he said he's in, it's like a 4-year program. And this man is like 2 years. So I was like, okay. That's a lie. I remember another time we were on the phone. And these are the times when I was like, God was showing me everything, God was showing me who he is. Like, literally, like, I was seeing through the lies. And we were on the phone, and he's talking to me. And I remember I was at work, and I called him it was on my break. And I called him because he usually finished work around 5, according to him. And I remember I called him, and I was like, hey, how are you? And I heard him on the road, and it was like around 3 o'clock. And I was like, you got off work early? And he's like, oh yeah, I did. I'm like, what time did you get off work? And this man paused. He paused and said, what time is it now? And then he's like, oh, I got off at 3. Like, if you get off work at a certain time, why would you need to look at the time to see what time you got off work? Wouldn't you know what time you got off work? So I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Like, he literally paused as if, like, he looked at the time to tell me a time based on what time it was. So we were on the phone, and he's telling me that he's in Walmart getting, like, shampoo and conditioner. And guys, I kid you not, this man was checking out, and I heard the Dollarama machine was saying, thank you for shopping at Dollarama. And I'm like, I thought you were in Walmart. And he's like, yeah, I just walked past the Dollarama. And I'm like, Dude, you literally, like a second ago, you told me that you're going to check out right now. How can you be passing the Dollarama when you're literally checking out at the Walmart? Like, and I was like, is he really at Dollarama and lying about that because he doesn't want to seem like he's buying shampoo from Dollarama? Like, what's wrong with buying shampoo from Dollarama? If you buy shampoo from Dollarama, that's fine. You don't have to buy shampoo from Walmart for me to like you. And everything just started unfolding. Everything started unfold, and things that just didn't make any sense. Give me one second. Everything just started unfolding, and things that didn't make that I thought was the truth just started coming to light. And I remember the straw was he said he was sick again, and this is how naive I was. I was like, oh, you want me to make you some soup, you know? And he's like, yeah, sure, make me some soup. He's like, oh, you know what, make me beef stew. I've never made beef stew in my life. I went online, I looked on the recipe for beef stew, I went to the grocery store, I bought all these ingredients to make this beef stew. And as soon as when I was making the beef stew, like, I was like, where am I going? Like, what am I doing? Am I this desperate? Like, for, like, you know, like, why am I making this man? I don't even know this man like that, you know, like that well. And like, we're just dating. Why should I make beef stew to bring to him? And I'm like, every time we meet, like, I'm always going to, except that one time when he came to me. Every other time he's always sick or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. So I text him and I'm like, yo, I'm not coming in. This man got upset, bro. Actually, I did make the beef stew, but I ended up eating it because I was like, I'm not going. So I didn't go, and he was upset that I didn't go. And then everything in the dream just started unfolding, and I was like, okay, God, is this what you tell me? Like, you know, this is making sense now. Like, it's not making any sense. And I just remember, like, one day we were talking, and I just kind of like blew up. I did it really bad. Like, I just blew up, and I was like, you're a liar. Like, this, that. Like, you lied to me. I don't believe that you have a car. I don't believe how you have this. I don't believe how you have that. I did it the wrong way. I regret doing it like that. Like, you know, I didn't have to blow up in his face like that. And he was like so shocked on the phone. He's like, I can't believe you're saying this. Like, wow. Like, he was so shocked, guys. And that was it. And then I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't deal with a liar. Like, I can't deal with a liar. Like, I really can't. And so I was like, okay, that's it. Like, you know, like, you lied to me. And in spite of everything, I was like, even if you had nothing, I would have still liked you. You know, like, you don't have, because he had a good personality. Like, you know, he was fun to talk to, and like, you know, I said we connected in a way. But like, I was just like, I don't understand why he lied. Like, I don't know if he lied to impress me or what, but he lied. And I was like, wow. And now looking back, I feel sorry for him. You know, I'm like, please God, deliver him from those lies, because you know, some people are literally just pathological liars. Like, they just lie for everything and nothing. I think it's a spirit, you know, like some people literally have the spirit of lying on them, and they just lie for every and anything. And I just feel so bad for him. But God opened my eyes from that, and that was literally from me just consulting God and asking God, please take away everyone that is not supposed to be in my life. Expose them. And that fast and that prayer saved me from my counterfeit, because the enemy saw that I was getting closer to God. He saw that I was going on my path, and he used one of my own desire to fool me. But he didn't fool me for long. So that's why I'm just encouraging somebody today. Whatever decision you're going to make, consult God first. Pray about it. Don't go in there leaning on your own understanding. Don't let whatever you want, don't want it too much to the point where you're blinded and deaf by all the red flags in your face. A lot of us, sometimes, especially us as women, when we start to get a certain age, we feel like time is running out. We need to get kids. We need to be married. We need a house. We need this. We need that. But it's not always like that. You know, sometimes we just have to wait. And that's why we have to go back and say, wait upon the Lord. Just wait. you know. So it's not everything shiny, not everything glitter that comes up in our face is gold, not every, you know. So sometimes we just have to wait and pray. And when you have a friend like my friend that was telling me, don't do this, listen to your friend. Don't be stubborn and don't go in your old ways, because that's what the enemy wants to do, you know. Like, he'll tell you, oh, she can't tell me what to do, I can do what I want to do. And as I said again, once if you meet somebody and they're pulling you away from God, just know that they're not from God, because God will not bring you something or someone that will pull you further from him. He'll bring someone to pull you towards him. So yeah, that's my story of how I encountered a counterfeit. And trust me guys, the counterfeits, they are they come off good because they come off so good. Sometimes you gotta open your eyes to see them, because sometimes it's literally like, you know, you're like, wow, this is everything that I want, and you really think that it's the right thing until there's like this one little thing, and you gotta be like, really look through that peephole and see that, you know, this is not the real one, like, it's fake. So my encouragement to you all is continue to wait, and whatever, you know, God promises you, he will never, his words will never go unvoid. So, you know, when God promises something will come to pass, and we just have to be patient, we just have to be obedient, and just wait. And I'm super duper happy, like, I prayed that prayer and I did that fast, and God answered me and showed me before I made any stupid decision, or before I invested more time in that so-called relationship that, you know, that I thought I wanted so much. And like since then, like now, I've been so happy and content where I am right now. You know, I'm in my waiting season. I know my husband is coming soon, because the Lord tells me. So I'm just waiting, you know. And for all you people out there waiting, just keep waiting. And don't wait with a frown on your face. Wait and be happy. Wait and do the will of God. Wait and be a servant of the Lord. Be a cheerful servant. God said we should be a cheerful servant. You know, like when you're waiting season, we should be thankful, we should be grateful, we should still celebrate, we should still give him all the honor and give him all the praise. But until next time, just stay positive and love on someone